Okay, example 4. The length of a rectangular basketball court is 44 feet more than the width. If the perimeter of the basketball court is 288 feet, what are the dimensions? Well, it turns out the first sentence is actually an equation. The length of the rectangular basketball court, I will use the letter L to represent the length. It is, whenever you see the word is, you can say something is equal to. The length is. It is 44 feet more than the width. So the length, if I took the width and I added 44, that's what the length would be. Now the perimeter of the basketball court is 280 feet. That would be another equation. The formula for perimeter is twice the length plus twice the width. So they're telling me that the perimeter is 280 feet, 88 feet. So I can use two equations to combine them together to make one equation with one variable. I do that by substitution. So over here, instead of using L, I'm going to use this, W plus 44. Because that's the same as L according to the first equation. So I'm going to substitute in L, but because there's two parts here, I need to make sure to put parentheses around that binomial because it's going to have 2 times that whole thing. So now I instead of having 2 different equations, I only have one equation right here, and I can solve for W. I'm going to distribute with my 2W and 88. I'm going to add the 2 W's together, the two W's together, and I get 4W. If I subtract 88 on both sides, I get 200. And if I subtract both sides by 4, W equals 5. So the width is 5 feet. Okay, that's one dimension. The other dimension would be the length, wouldn't it? So if the width is 5 feet, wouldn't the length be 5 plus 44? So the length, 50. Sorry, 50 feet. So the width is 50 feet. So the length then would be 50 plus 44, or 94 feet. Sorry, I'm trying to rush to make sure I get everything in on this video. Number 5. Number 5 is a fairly long question. It has to do with a garden with a path around it. So because human beings are really visual, I'm going to make a diagram. So inside here we have a garden. So here is my garden inside, and then this space around it is the path around the garden. So it says that the garden measures 12 feet by 16 feet. So this distance here is 12, and from here to here would be 16. Now, we don't know how wide the path is, but we do know that it's the same width all the way around. So for example, from here to here, the path is x units long. But if it's the same width on this side, this would also be x. Or, if we look at this edge, the width here, this is the path here, that would also be x. Or, right here, this path going this way would also be x. Because the distance going across the path side to side is the same. It's of uniform width. That means the same. So, what I want to do is think about the only number they really gave me to work with, and that is the total area. So if you include the garden and the path, the total area of this whole large rectangle is 320 feet. So, area is length times width, right? If I have this whole distance here, what would that be? Oops, sorry. This distance here is 12 in the middle and an x on both sides. So if I added up x plus 12 plus x, wouldn't that be 2x plus 12 for that distance this way? Yeah. So the width of the garden would be 2x plus 12. The length of the garden, there's an x here and an x here, and this part in the middle is 16. So if I added up x plus 16 plus x, that would be 2x plus 16. That's this distance here. That's the length. So the area, which is 320 square feet, can be calculated by multiplying this length times that width. So if they want us to find the width of the path, which is x, it can be done by figuring out what this equation is, solving for x. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to FOIL these two together, first, outer, inner, last. First, 2x times 2x is 4x squared. Outer is 2x times 12, 24x. Inner is 16 times 2x, which is 32x. And last would be 16 times 12, which is 192. So, what do we do with this? Well, we combine like terms. 24x and 32x is 56x. I can also subtract on both sides with the 320. If I subtract 320 on both sides, I can add together 192, take away 320, which gives me negative 128. And on the other side, if I take away 320, I would get 0. This can now be factored. Remember, try to factor something out before you factor things apart. It turns out that we can divide each of these by the number 4. So, I get x squared, 56 divided by 4 is 14, negative 120 divided by 4 is 32. And then finally, I can have a trinomial, and this is factorable. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply together to be negative 32, and those same two numbers add together to be 14. That's 16 and negative 2. So, what I now have done is I've found two factors here that I can then set equal to 0 to try to find my answer. Well, if I set x plus 16 equal to 0 and solve, I would get the width of the path being negative 16 feet. Well, that doesn't make any sense. We can't have measurements that are negative. So let's try the other one. How about x equals negative 2? If I set x minus 2. If I set x minus 2 equal to 0 and solve, then I get the width of the path being 2. Well, that makes sense. The width of the path could be 2 feet. So, that's my final answer. The width of the path is 2 feet.